1 in 10 that your client might be interviewed by me or one of the other officers there. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the test process, because for all the other information that they're providing to us, this is obviously the most scary and intimidating part. And really half the time, I would say that we have test failures is sometimes they're just nervous. They know the information, they know how to do the test, and especially with the questions, you know, if they get thrown on one, all of a sudden it's just, you know, complete meltdown. So half the battle is just, we try to make them feel as comfortable as possible, but of course there's always the intimidation factor. As we go through the slideshow, you'll notice that we call this the new test. It's not really so new anymore. We changed it in 2009, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But just for consistency's sake, we're going to keep calling this the new test, even though it has been around for a little bit. So at this point, we're going to be talking about they've already filed the application, they've already had their fingerprint appointment, and now they've been sent a notice for their interview date to come in. Okay, so of course everything that we do is governed by federal regulations. So the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 312, is what governs the requirements for the test and how we administer the test. And we'll kind of talk about these sections a little bit in more detail. But generally speaking, the civics test is given orally, requiring an oral response. So even though I'm reading the questions to them, they can't take my sheet and read the questions for themselves and then answer. They can't write it down. They have to be able to speak and respond to questions. And as Hans mentioned, the outcome of the speaking portion of the test is determined by their answers during the interview. So how well are they understanding what I'm asking them as part of the form? And basically, we want to make sure that they, you know, these questions are determining if they're eligible for the benefits. So we have to make sure that they understand enough of what they're answering that we know that we're giving the benefits to the person who's eligible for it. An interpreter can be used if they meet the age and time requirements. Just keep in mind that we don't have interpreters at the office, so if your client's going to need one, you want to be able to facilitate for that for them ahead of time. Also, you know, sometimes family members will serve as the interpreter, but that can also cause some awkward situations because of the personal nature of the questions. If you know you have a prostitution charge, that might not be something that you want to share with your 12-year-old child, and that's an intimidating experience for them as well. If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do, but just keep that in mind too as some considerations for that. As Hans mentioned, the applicants are given 2 opportunities to pass these tests. Whatever they pass the first time, they don't have to do the second time, so as far as they make it through the form, we're not going to ask them their name and birth date again. We're going to go right to wherever they couldn't answer the questions, and we'll only give them the test that they failed the first time. And then applicants seeking a medical exemption must file the form N648 that Hans discussed. That clearly explains the connection between the disability and why that would prevent that person from being able to take the test. That's the most important thing. You know, we're not doctors. We're not going to say, oh, well, I don't think that you know, are sick enough for this. What we need to see is that the doctor clearly understands that this disability is what's causing this person's inability to pass a particular portion of the test.